I'll admit that I've always been a fan of legal dramas on TV, rarely do I really find one that I get so engrossed in as with The Good Fight, a spin-off of the critically acclaimed and generally preferred legal drama, The Good Wife. I have of course seen both shows, and one thing that you can count on is an abundance of great characters, addicting stories, and a penchant to make things hard to look away from. The Good Fight encompasses many colorful characters and storylines, but the primary character for the most part is Diane Lockhart, played by Christine Baranski. After she loses everything and leaves her former firm, she ends up joining a primarily black law firm in Chicago during some of the most dividing times of our nation, which directly affects the law, among other personal feelings, among the associates. Interestingly enough, one of the highlights watching this show was seeing it evolve from simply being a wannabe clone of The Good Wife to finding its own unique identity and style. Those changes occurred around the third season when they would have animated musical shorts that were kind of inspired by things like Schoolhouse Rock, as well as an escalating oddity with Diane's character as she begins to get into drugs and begins to lose her mind a little bit. The thing about this show, going through all these different changes, first feels weird to say the least, but weird kind of in a good way. Weird in a way that screams, obviously they're comfortable with their own identity now, so let's just have fun watching. Fans of the original series will enjoy cameos from well-known characters like Lewis Canning, played by Michael J. Fox, Eli Gold, played by Alan Cumming. The list goes on and on. Throughout the 6 seasons of The Good Fight, these characters make appearances. But what sets the show apart is its quirkiness. For example, Judge Hal Wagner, played by Mandy Patinkin. This is a character that runs a peculiar courtroom in a back room of a paper or printing agency. Despite the absurdity and unconventional rules, his character challenges the current legal system, believing that true justice requires flexibility in applying the long-standing rules that have existed for ages. Structurally, the show marches to the beat of its own drums when it comes down to content and seasonal arcs. With content, the show aired on CBS All Access or Paramount Plus, which means that the network allowed them to be a little bit more uncensored in general. So there's a fair amount of F-bombs scattered throughout the show. Keep that in mind, not everybody appreciates stuff like that. I don't mind it at all, but I know those that do. Seasonal arcs are a lot of fun because not only do the arcs exist, but so do the titles of the episodes, at least from season 2 on. So let's talk about each season a little bit. The first season mostly just kind of dealt with introductions. Given there were so many characters and a new location, there were plenty of things to get acquainted with. The second season is the one that dealt the most with kill-all lawyer threats, murder rates raising. Each episode began with day and then it gave a number, signifying the number of days since Trump was elected and how the world just kind of got crazier and crazier ever since. When we're talking about season 3, all of the episodes of the third season started with the titles The One, Where, or When, or That, as a shout out to Friends. The fourth season is actually the shortest season of the show, with just 7 episodes due to the sudden COVID-19 thing. Though it was the season that introduced us to, in my opinion, the most engaging, thought-provoking, and insane storyline out of the entire series, Memo 618. You kind of have to see it to understand what I'm talking about, but it's Conspiracy City. I love it. And by the way, each episode of that season begins with the gang, and then it says what the gang does, aka a shout out to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Now, there was a shift in the 5th season that I didn't love, as it got rid of 2 primary, main characters. They bowed out after their contracts were expired, and they simply just didn't want to stay on. I will not say who they were, but it's a pretty major blow, considering they were some of the strongest voices in the entire show. I eventually got over it though because they left in the middle of the show's transitioning period. Every episode title rips off of a nursery rhyme in the 5th season, where each title relates to the last title. For example, There Once Was a Court, and the court had a clerk, and the clerk had a firm, and the firm had 2 partners, etc. It was pretty cool. The 6th and final season primarily dealt with the firm trying to find out if they're doing any good at all. Everything that they think was the right choice ends up being undone anyway because of the calamity outside. The Chicago riots are going on, making it near impossible for the lawyers to even get into their office without dying. It deals with relationships going through turmoil, integrity being questioned, bomb threats, and more. Each episode of this season began with the title The End Of, and then it'll list off what ended. And understandably so, it is the end of the series. So if you're a fan of legal dramas in general, if you've seen The Good Wife, then go ahead and check out this show. And by the way, you don't need to see The Good Wife. Will it help? Yes, because you'll be able to understand the references and the cameos of certain guest stars, but for the most part, it is a self-contained show that you can enjoy from beginning to end if you would rather. I'm rating the show an A+. It did everything that it sought out to do and more. I was always highly invested in it. It just got better and better for the most part for me, even though I would have liked to see what they would have eventually done with season 4. What about you guys though? Are you a fan of The Good Fight? Did you watch the show in its entirety? Did you watch The Good Wife? Let me know. As for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button, and the bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out.
Welcome to the fight where justice bleeds. Red Dick, Bossman, and Cold Starts Creed. Luca Queen, a force to be reckoned. In courtrooms, alleys where secrets beckon. Sarah steals Marissa.